Marcus stood on the platform, holding his train ticket tightly in his hand. His fingers were rough from working all day at the construction site. Sweat still dotted his forehead, even though he had washed his face in the bathroom. His back ached. His feet hurt. All he wanted was to sit down for the long ride home. The train pulled into the station with a loud screech. The doors opened and Marcus stepped inside. He looked at his ticket. Seat 24B. He had paid for that seat with money he earned carrying heavy bricks and mixing cement under the hot sun. That seat was his. Marcus walked down the narrow aisle between the rows of seats. His worn backpack hung from one shoulder. People sat reading books, scrolling on their phones, and staring out windows. Everything seemed normal. Then he saw it. Seat 24B was taken, but not by someone sitting in it. A teenage boy wearing a light blue hoodie had stretched himself across two seats like he owned the entire train. His dirty sneakers rested on seat 24B, Marcus's seat. One leg sprawled across the armrest. The other dangled into the aisle, blocking anyone from passing. The boy had pale skin and messy brown hair that fell into his eyes. He wore an expression that said, "I don't care about anyone but myself." His friends sat nearby, laughing and pointing at their phones. One of them held up his phone, recording everything. "Hey, look, Jake's doing it again," one friend shouted, giggling. "Post it, post it," another one yelled. The boy in the blue hoodie, Jake, smirked. He stretched even more, making himself bigger, taking up more space. He wanted everyone to see how bold he was, how fearless, how powerful. Marcus stopped beside the seats. He took a slow breath. "Excuse me," Marcus said quietly. His voice was calm and polite. "That's my seat. I bought a ticket for 24B. Jake didn't even look at him. He kept his eyes on the ceiling of the train, pretending Marcus didn't exist. "Excuse me," Marcus said again, a little louder this time. Jake finally turned his head. He looked Marcus up and down. His lip curled into a mean smile. "I don't see your name on it," Jake said. His friends burst out laughing. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "I have a ticket. That seat is mine. Please move your leg." Jake's smile grew wider. He pressed his dirty sneaker harder against the seat cushion, grinding dirt into the fabric. "Maybe you should find somewhere else to sit," Jake said slowly. "This train has plenty of room in the back." The words hung in the air like poison. Some passengers looked up. A few shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others quickly looked away, pretending they didn't hear anything. An elderly woman frowned but said nothing. A man in a business suit buried his face deeper into his newspaper. Marcus's jaw tightened. He knew what Jake meant. He had heard words like that before. Not always said out loud, but felt in looks, in whispers, in the way people treated him differently because of the color of his skin. "I paid for this seat," Marcus repeated, his voice still calm but firmer now. "Move your leg." Jake sat up slightly, leaning forward. His eyes gleamed with cruelty. "Make me," he whispered. The friends howled with laughter. One of them zoomed in with his phone camera, capturing every second. "Oh man, this is gold," one friend shouted. "Jake, you're a legend," another one screamed. Marcus stood there, staring down at this boy who had so much confidence but so little respect. He could feel dozens of eyes on him now. The whole train car was watching, waiting, wondering what he would do. His hands curled into fists at his sides. Not because he wanted to fight. Fighting wouldn't solve anything. It would only make things worse. But standing there, being humiliated in front of all these people, stung worse than any punch. "Please," Marcus said one more time. "Just move." Jake leaned back and crossed his arms behind his head. He looked like a king on a throne. "Nah," Jake said. "I'm comfortable right here. You should have gotten here earlier if you wanted a good seat. I have a ticket." Marcus's voice rose slightly, frustration finally breaking through. "So," Jake shrugged. "Tickets don't mean anything. It's first come, first served, buddy. That's not how it works." "It's how it works now," Jake interrupted. He swung his leg lazily, letting his shoe dangle right in front of Marcus's chest. The train began to move. The engine hummed beneath their feet. Buildings outside the windows started sliding past. Marcus didn't move. He stood in the aisle, blocking the path, his ticket still clutched in his hand. His heart pounded. His mind raced. What could he do? Yell? Grab the boy's leg and shove it off? Call for help? Around him, passengers whispered to each other. Why doesn't he just find another seat? Someone muttered. Kids these days have no respect. An old man grumbled quietly. Someone should do something. A woman whispered to her husband, but neither of them moved. Jake's friends kept filming. Their phones were aimed at Marcus like weapons. Every moment of his humiliation was being captured, recorded, saved forever. Jake tilted his head and grinned up at Marcus. What's wrong? Jake asked mockingly. Cat got your tongue? Marcus stared down at him. This boy didn't understand. He didn't know what it felt like to work 12 hours under the blazing sun just to afford a train ticket home. He didn't know what it was like to be judged before you even open your mouth. He didn't know what it meant to fight every single day just to be treated like a human being. But Marcus knew. He knew all of it, and he wasn't going to let this boy break him. Move, Marcus said, his voice low and steady. Now. Jake's grin faded slightly. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Doubt? Fear? But then his friends cheered him on again, and the moment passed. Jake pressed his shoe forward, right against Marcus's chest. The passengers gasped, and everything changed. The shoe pressed harder against Marcus's chest. Marcus looked down at it. A dirty white sneaker with mud on the sole, right against his heart. Pushing, disrespecting, humiliating. Jake held it there, his legs stretched out like a barrier. His face showed pure enjoyment. He was loving every second of this. What are you going to do about it? Jake asked, his voice dripping with mockery. The phones kept recording. 3 different cameras now, all pointed at Marcus, all capturing his pain. Marcus's hands trembled, not from fear, from anger that had nowhere to go. He could push the leg away. He could shout. He could make a scene. But he knew how it would look on those videos. They would edit it. They would make him look like the bad guy. They would say he attacked a poor innocent kid. So Marcus stood still. He let the shoe press against him. He let the humiliation sink in. And he waited. Around them, the train car had gone almost silent. Some passengers still laughed, nervous, uncomfortable laughs. Others stared with wide eyes, shocked that this was really happening. A teenage girl covered her mouth with her hand. A young mother pulled her child closer and whispered, "Don't look, baby. Don't look." But most people did nothing. They sat in their seats. They looked at their phones. They pretended not to see, because getting involved meant trouble. It meant confrontation. It meant standing up for what was right, and that was too hard, too scary. Marcus felt more alone than he had ever felt in his life. "Come on, man," one of Jake's friends called out. "Just go find another seat. Why are you making this difficult?" "Yeah," another friend added. "It's just a seat. Chill out. Just a seat." But it wasn't just a seat. It was respect. It was dignity. It was the right to be treated like a human being. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say anything, a loud voice cut through the air. "What is going on here?" Everyone turned. A woman in a dark blue uniform marched down the aisle. She was a train conductor, a tall woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her face was stern, her eyes sharp. She had seen everything from the front of the car. "You," she pointed at Jake. "Get your foot down right now." Jake's confident smile wavered. He glanced at his friends, then back at the conductor. "I'm just sitting here," Jake said, trying to sound innocent. "I'm not doing anything wrong." "You have your foot on another passenger," the conductor snapped, "and you're blocking a paid seat. Remove your leg immediately, or I will have you removed from this train." The phones kept filming, but now they weren't just pointed at Marcus. They were capturing Jake's face as it turned red, as his tough guy act started to crumble. "Fine, whatever," Jake muttered. He slowly pulled his leg back, let his foot drop to the floor. The conductor turned to Marcus. Her expression softened just slightly. "Sir, is this your seat?" she asked. Marcus held up his ticket. His hand was still shaking. "Yes, ma'am. Seat 24B. She nodded. "Then please sit down." Marcus moved past Jake and lowered himself into the seat. His legs felt weak. His chest still burned where the shoe had pressed against it. He sat down and stared straight ahead, refusing to look at Jake beside him. Jake slumped in his own seat, arms crossed. For a moment, there was silence. Then Jake leaned close to Marcus and whispered, just loud enough for the phones to pick up, "You're not worth the seat anyway." The conductor had already walked away. She didn't hear it, but the cameras did. The phones caught every word. Marcus closed his eyes. He took a deep breath, then another. He would not cry. He would not break. He would sit in his seat with his head held high. Jake's friends packed up their phones, giggling and whispering to each other. They replayed the videos, watching Marcus's humiliation over and over. One of them was already typing on his phone. "Dude, this is going on TikTok right now," one friend whispered. "Instagram, too," another added. "This is going to blow up. Jake, you're going to be famous, bro." Jake grinned again, his confidence returning. He thought he had one. He thought this was just a funny story he could tell later. A video that would get him likes and followers. He had no idea what was about to happen. Within an hour, the video was everywhere. It started on TikTok, then Twitter, then Instagram, then Facebook. It spread like wildfire, jumping from phone to phone, screen to screen, country to country. People watched the video and felt their blood boil. They saw Jake's smug face. They saw him stretch across two seats like he owned the world. They saw him press his dirty shoe against Marcus's chest. They heard his cruel words. They saw Marcus standing there, calm and dignified, even as he was being humiliated. The comments came flooding in. "This is disgusting. That boy should be ashamed of himself. Who raised this kid? Where are his parents? The man showed so much class. I would have lost it. This is what racism looks like in 2024. Why didn't anyone help him?" Someone found Marcus's name, Marcus Williams. He worked in construction. He lived in a small apartment and sent money back home to his mother every month. He volunteered at a community center on weekends, teaching kids how to play basketball. He was a good man, a kind man, a hard-working man. And Jake? Someone found his school, his full name, his parents' names, his social media accounts. The internet does not forget. The internet does not forgive. Jake's Instagram was flooded with angry messages. Thousands of them. His comments were disabled, but people found other ways to reach him. They messaged his friends. They contacted his school. They left reviews on his father's business page. "Your son is a racist bully. You raised a monster. He humiliated an innocent man. He deserves consequences." Jake's friends started deleting their accounts. The videos disappeared from their profiles, but it was too late. People had already downloaded them, already shared them, already saved them forever. At school the next day, Jake walked through the hallways and felt everyone's eyes on him. Whispers followed him like shadows. "That's him. That's the guy from the video. I can't believe he did that." People who used to laugh at his jokes now turned away. People who used to sit with him at lunch found other tables. Even his closest friends avoided him, scared that his reputation would ruin theirs too. His teachers looked at him differently. One pulled him aside after class. "I saw the video, Jake." The teacher said quietly, "I'm disappointed. I thought you were better than that." Jake tried to defend himself. It was just a joke. People are overreacting. But the teacher just shook his head and walked away. At home, Jake's parents sat him down at the kitchen table. His mother had been crying. His father's face was stone. "Do you understand what you've done?" his father asked, his voice cold. "Do you understand that this will follow you for the rest of your life?" Jake stared at the table. He didn't have an answer. That night, alone in his room, Jake opened his phone. He typed his own name into the search bar. The video appeared immediately. Millions of views, thousands of shares, endless comments calling him names, saying he deserved to suffer, saying he would never amount to anything. He watched himself on the screen. That cocky smile, That cruel laugh, that shoe pressed against Marcus's chest. And for the first time, Jake felt something he had never felt before. Shame. Deep, burning shame that made his stomach twist and his throat tighten. He tried to tell himself it wasn't that bad, that people would forget, that it would blow over. But he knew the truth. The internet never forgets. 1 week later, Marcus stood on the same train platform. His work boots were dusty again. His backpack hung from his shoulder. Another long day of carrying bricks and mixing cement was behind him. His muscles ached, but there was something different about him now. He stood a little taller. His shoulders were a little straighter. The train pulled into the station with its familiar screech. The doors opened. Marcus stepped inside. He walked down the aisle, heading toward his usual spot. And as he walked, something strange happened. People looked up at him, but not with the blank stares from before. They looked at him with recognition, respect. An elderly man nodded at him. "Good to see you, sir," the man said softly. Marcus nodded back, surprised. A woman with a briefcase smiled. "Have a good evening," she said warmly. Marcus felt his chest tighten. These were strangers, but they weren't treating him like a stranger. They had seen the video. They knew who he was. They knew what he had endured. He reached his seat, 24B, the same seat from last week. It was empty, but as Marcus moved to sit down, a young man quickly stood up from the seat next to it. "Here," the young man said, gesturing to his own seat by the window. "Please, take this one. It's got a better view." Marcus blinked. That's kind of you, but I'm fine here." "I insist," the young man said with a genuine smile. "You deserve it." Marcus felt emotion rising in his throat. He nodded and quietly sat down by the window. The young man moved to another seat without complaint, without expecting anything in return. As the train began to move, Marcus noticed more eyes on him. But they weren't judging him. They were showing him silent support. A teenage girl gave him a thumbs up. A father pointed him out to his young son and whispered something that made the boy look at Marcus with admiration. Marcus had become a symbol, not because he wanted to be, but because he had stood there that day with dignity, when everything inside him wanted to scream. He had shown the world what real strength looked like. Then Marcus saw him. At the far end of the car, hunched in a corner seat, was Jake, the boy in the light blue hoodie. Except now, the hoodie was gray. His head was down. His hands were shoved deep into his pockets. He sat alone, completely, utterly alone. No friends laughing beside him. No phones recording. No cocky smile. Just a boy who looked like he wanted to disappear. Jake must have sensed someone looking at him because he glanced up. His eyes met Marcus's for just a split second. And in that second, Marcus saw everything. He saw regret. He saw shame. He saw a young man who had learned the hardest lesson of his life, that cruelty has consequences, that the internet never forgets, that reputation is built over years but destroyed in seconds. Jake quickly looked away, his face turning red. He stared down at his shoes, the same dirty white sneakers from a video, the ones that had pressed against Marcus's chest. Marcus could have said something. He could have walked over there and confronted Jake. He could have demanded an apology. He could have made Jake feel even smaller than he already did. But Marcus didn't. Because true strength isn't about getting revenge. True dignity isn't about making others suffer the way you suffered. Marcus simply turned away and looked out the window. He watched the city lights blur past. He thought about his mother, waiting for his phone call tonight. He thought about the kids at the community center who would want to hear his stories. He thought about tomorrow and the day after that, and all the days to come. Life would go on. His life, a good life, a life filled with purpose and kindness. Jake would have to figure out his own path now. The train rumbled along its tracks. Passengers chatted quietly. A baby cooed in its mother's arms. Someone laughed at something on their phone. Everything was normal, peaceful, but Jake sat in his corner, drowning in silence. That night, Jake lay in his bed with his phone in his hand. He had deleted all his social media accounts, but the video still existed. It was everywhere. People had copied it, saved it, re-uploaded it dozens of times. It would never truly go away. Jake opened YouTube on a private browser. He typed in train confrontation racist. The video appeared immediately. 15 million views. The thumbnail showed Jake's face frozen in that cruel smile, his foot pressed against Marcus's chest. Jake clicked on it, even though he had watched it 100 times already. Even though every viewing felt like a knife twisting in his gut. He watched himself act like a monster. He heard his own voice saying those terrible words. He saw the way Marcus stood there, calm, patient, dignified, while Jake tried to break him. And Jake realized something that made his eyes burn with tears. Marcus had won, not by fighting back, not by yelling or making a scene, but by simply being better, by showing the world what real character looked like. The comments section was still active. New comments appeared every few minutes. That man is a hero. He showed more class in 5 minutes than most people show in a lifetime. The boy learned a hard lesson. Actions have consequences. I hope that kid grows up and becomes a better person. Jake read that last comment over and over. I hope that kid grows up and becomes a better person. Could he? Could he ever be better than the person in that video? He didn't know, but he knew he had to try. Jake closed the video and opened his notes app. He started typing. Dear Mr. Williams, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't even know how I would get it to you, but I need to write it anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did on that train. I'm sorry for disrespecting you. I'm sorry for treating you like you were less than human. I'm sorry for thinking it was funny. I'm sorry for not seeing you as a real person with feelings and a life and people who love you. I was wrong. Completely, totally wrong. I've lost a lot because of what I did. My friends won't talk to me. People at school hate me. My parents are disappointed in me. My dad's business is getting bad reviews because of me. I have to switch schools next year. But you know what? I deserve all of it. You didn't deserve any of what I did to you. You were just trying to sit in your seat after a long day of work. And I made it into a nightmare. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to even care about this letter. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see how wrong I was. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be different, trying to be better. I hope you're doing okay. I hope your life is good. You deserve good things. I'm truly, deeply sorry. Jake. He read the letter 3 times. Then he saved it in his notes, even though he knew he would probably never send it. Some things couldn't be fixed with words. Some mistakes were too big for a simple apology. But maybe, just maybe, acknowledging the mistake was a start. Jake turned off his phone and stared at the ceiling in the darkness. Tomorrow, he would have to face school again. More whispers, more stares, more reminders of what he had done. But maybe that was okay. Maybe that was what he needed. Not to forget, not to move on, but to remember, to carry this lesson with him every single day, to let it shape him into someone better, someone who would never press a shoe against another person's chest, someone who would stand up when others were being mistreated, someone who understood that every person, no matter their skin color, their job, their background, deserved respect. Back on the train, Marcus sat by his window and watched the world go by. He thought about Jake, too. He wondered if the boy had learned anything. He wondered if this moment would change him or destroy him. Marcus hoped for change, because that's who Marcus was. A man who believed in second chances. A man who believed people could grow. But Marcus also knew that some lessons had to hurt before they could heal. The train carried him home, to his small apartment, to his phone call with his mother, to his evening helping kids at the community center, to his ordinary, beautiful life. And somewhere in a dark bedroom across town, a boy in a blue hoodie finally understood what real power looked like. It wasn't in cruelty. It wasn't in humiliation. It wasn't in making others feel small. Real power was in dignity, in respect, in standing tall, even when the world tried to push you down. Marcus had it. Jake didn't. But maybe, just maybe, he could earn it back. One day, one choice. One act of kindness at a time. The train rumbled on through the night, and both of their lives would never be the same. If you enjoyed this story, please share, and subscribe for more powerful tales about dignity, respect, and the consequences of our choices. Remember, the way we treat others defines who we are. Choose kindness. Choose respect. Choose to be better.